Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cranky Pundit podcast. I'm your host, Mike Morgan, the Cranky Pundit. So today's episode, guys, is a similar vibe to the Paul Scholes one. I'm making 50 players, centre-backs only, from the Premier League era that were better than Jamie Carragher, following on from my Paul Scholes one. Now, it's just two players that wreck my head. One from United fans, one from Liverpool fans. Paul Scholes was great. Jamie Carragher was great. Let's call a spade and a fact here now, guys. No, Paul Scholes was a fabulous player. Jamie Carragher was not a great player. If Jamie Carragher wasn't from Liverpool, ask yourself the question, where would he be at? How many transfer offers came in for Jamie Carragher while he was at Liverpool? I will guess 0. Maybe a team that was battling against relegation. He tells a story on Sky Sports that when he retired, Everton were trying to sign him, but he said no. I don't know how true that was, but that's the kind of vibes we're going for. Maybe teams that are battling against relegation. Not this Champions League winner, which he is, but to be honest, he cost us more than he won us. Like, let's be honest. Like, he didn't win a Premier League. He's been in the Premier League for 2 decades. Didn't win a Premier League. Surrounded by, let's be honest, some great players at times. That 09 Liverpool team was absolutely fantastic. 09-10 season, absolutely fantastic. Fernando Torres, Xavi Alonso, Mascherano, Gerrard. He had next to him was Sami Hyypiä, Martin Skrtel, or Daniel Agger. You know, you had Steve Finnan right back, or Arbeloa. Like, it was a fine team. Dirk Kuyt put in a shift. So there must be a weak link somewhere. And that weak link, ladies and gentlemen, was Jamie Carragher. I don't know how many games I went to when I was a kid in my teenage years. I went to Anfield and I came out feeling like Jamie Carragher owes me money. Jamie Carragher cost us that game. Genuinely, it's something that is head-wrecking. And again, like the Paul Scholes thing, I see a lot of young people now saying Jamie Carragher is the top 10 best centre-backs of all time in the Premier League. Are you on crack? Are kids? What's in the vapes these days that kids are smoking? I hear watermelon flavour. Is there crack flavoured now? Are they smoking crack flavoured? Do you know what I mean? Because give me a piece of that. And even on the Bleacher Report, they have in the best 30 centre-backs in the Premier League era, they have Carragher down as number 12. Now, fair enough, he's outside the top 10. I can appreciate that. But 12, I'm about to name 50 that are better than Jamie Carragher, that have played in the Premier League era. Again, I'm not going on about all the fellas that played in Spain that made names for themselves, or in other countries that are absolutely fantastic. Do you know, Sergio Ramos isn't coming into my list. Do you know, all these players that do play for them ones. No, it's only Premier League players. Like, I'm only comparing him with his position in his league. That's all, and I've come up with 50 players that are better than him. Now, not only did no one ever come in to sign Jamie Carragher, Liverpool, throughout the best part of 2 decades, spent money every single summer trying to replace him. In trying to sign players like Jamie Traore, signing players like Honcho, Hyypiä, Ridderbucksong, Daniel Agger, Martin Skrtel, Kyriakos, Pellegrini. I bet you didn't even hear of the last 2. I bet you didn't even hear of the Pellegrini fella. I went to a Middlesbrough game, Jamie Carragher was on the bench, and this fella, Pellegrini, was starting. Only thank God for Jamie Carragher's sake that 3/4 of these players were cat shit, and the other quarter were only slightly better than him. Like, I love Agger, I love Skrtel, well, to be fair, Hyypiä was a good player. I love Agger and Skrtel, but they weren't top tier, but they were slightly better than Jamie Carragher, in my opinion. Now, having said that, Daniel Agger and Martin Skrtel don't even appear on my top 50 list. I genuinely, and I know Liverpool fans out there at the time, who did you prefer starting, Daniel Agger or Jamie Carragher? I know for me, it was Daniel Agger anyway, and these boys aren't even in my list. Now, before I start, let's go on about his greatest moment. Champions League final 05. Absolutely amazing. Them winning had fuck all to do with him. Like, they all go on all last-ditch tackling. He was always on his arse. That's the other thing. He'd put his balls on the line. The best centre-backs don't put their balls on. How many times do you see Van Dijk on the floor? How many times do you see Rio Ferdinand on the floor take away the last 2 years of his career when he was getting old? But when defenders are in their prime, which is supposed to be Jamie Carragher in the 05 season, why is he on his arse every 2 seconds? For the 3 goals AC Milan scored in the final, he's on his arse for all of them, nowhere near the ball. That don't happen, Van Dijk, and that don't happen the majority of the players I have in my 50 list. Deluded Liverpool fans. And guys, I am a Liverpool fan. That's why it wrecks my head so much. Like, it took me about, I'd say, an hour to make the Paul Scholes 50. It took me 20 minutes to make this one. I probably should have done 100. There's a lot more players than, I got to 50 and I was like, oh, that's 50, I'm done. Do you know, so I didn't really have to think about it that much. So, Let me know if you agree, disagree. I'll hit you with the stats. He has scored more goals against Liverpool than for Liverpool. And you can go, oh, he's a defender. Yeah, so was Van Dijk, so was Rio Ferdinand. All goal threats. Like, do you know? So, take away the goal threats. I'd say he's given away more penalties than any player in the history of Liverpool. Just straight up. And he got away with murder as well. So, no one ever came in for him. No one ever made a transfer fee for him. When he was done, no one was looking for him. And we always tried to bench him. Have we ever tried to bench Van Dijk? Have we ever tried to bench anybody that's actually unbelievable for you? You don't bench him. Do you know? Not a hope. He plays every game. That wasn't the case with Carragher. And I'm not just talking about the later part of his career. I'm talking the whole part of his career. I have went to games at Anfield in 06-07 when he was in his prime, and he was on the bench. And Daniel Agger and Martin Scottle were starting. Or Hoopier and Agger were starting. And Carragher was on the bench. So how the fuck is he in the top 10 best Premier League centre-backs of all time? Just tell me, like. I've hit you with some facts. And you know on my podcast I don't pull out stats. But if you've scored more goals against Liverpool than for Liverpool, well, mate, that's not a good thing. I'm just hitting you with a quick fact. So let's get down to business, guys. So I've kind of done it in a list of clubs. And my last 10 players then are kind of debatable. So the top 40, I just truly believe these players are better than Jamie Carragher, without a doubt. And the last 10 then, I've kind of thrown up for clicks. Just so people can, disagree with me. No, I'll just list them out. I won't spend time explaining every single one of them, because most of them, not like the Paul Scholes one. I believe the top 10 in the Paul Scholes one were non-negotiable, and I had to explain myself for the rest. To be honest, the majority of these I don't need to explain myself. I'm just going to say their names and move on. And if there's any kind of hairy ones or ones I feel I have to explain, I'll explain them, okay? But I don't need to for most of them, bar the last 10. So we'll drive on with it. So I kind of started, the first few were United players that played for Man United in the Premier League era, that were centre-backs and were definitely better than Jamie Carragher. So, let's go. Number 1, Rio Ferdinand. Number 2, Vidic. Number 3, I threw in a spanner early. I said Johnny Evans. I feel, right, if United, I think Louis van Gaal sold Johnny Evans, right, who then went on to play for West Brom, captain West Brom for 5 years, and is now still a stalwart for Leicester right now. I think if he kept him, instead of giving time to Phil Jones, Eric Bailly, Rojo, Harry Maguire, there's still a load of clowns in there that I'd pick Johnny Evans over. I really feel if United kept Johnny Evans, that a lot of your problems would have been solved with all the centre-backs that she bought over the years since Sir Alex Ferguson left. That's just my opinion. Sorry, I said I'd stop to explain Johnny Evans, but I truly believe Johnny Evans is far better than actually anyone gives him credit for. I think he's a top-class centre-back. Anyway, moving on. Jaap Stam. Raphael Varane. Now, the only reason you might say, oh, he's shit for United. Yeah, he's won 5 Champions Leagues with Real Madrid, won a World Cup with France. Do you know what I mean? Like, Jamie Carragher ain't doing that. He ain't getting on the French team, like, and he ain't getting on the Real Madrid team either, like. John O'Shea. To an Irish person, I don't think I have to explain it, but if anybody not listening from Ireland, John O'Shea was the most versatile defender during United's peak years. He could play right back, left back. He played 2 seasons centre mid, won every trophy there is to win, and was unbelievable for Ireland. Absolutely unbelievable for Ireland. I love John O'Shea. Would have him. I think not only is he a better player all round, height, physical, pace, strength, control on the ball, goal threat. John O'Shea scored a winner at the Cop End. I'm sure United fans were already saying it before I said it. At the Cop End, John O'Shea scored a winner. He nutmegged Luis Figo. Jamie Carragher ain't doing any of those things, okay? Paul McGrath. I know before my time, Paul McGrath, but supposedly one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League era. Like the next two as well, Steve Bruce and Gary Pallister. Both won leagues for Manchester United, stalwart centre-backs. And the way the old-timers go on about him is amazing. Now, I'm only going off Premier League years and YouTube clips, but from what I've seen, Jamie Carragher ain't getting near these boys, you know. So let's move on. Number 10, probably should have to explain myself. Wes Brown. Same reasons I'm saying John O'Shea. Could play right back, centre back, left back. Started right back in a Champions League final, didn't he? Or centre back, I'm not quite sure. The one they won against Chelsea, when John Terry slipped, played for Sunderland then and kept him up. So in the twilight of his career, he went to Sunderland and kept him up, partnering John O'Shea at the back. Quality player, numerous caps for England. Got picked. He actually got picked ahead of Jamie Carragher on multiple occasions for England. So maybe I should explain Wes Brown. But for me, Wes Brown is a better player. Strength, tackling, heading, just marking a defender and composure on the ball. Wes Brown was better. Okay, so we move on to a couple of Arsenal players, okay? So Tony Adams, Martin Keown, Kolo Toure, Campbell, William Gallas, maybe should explain that, but just the fact he played for Spurs, Chelsea and Arsenal, all in their kind of peak, played for France also, scored a goal to knock Ireland out of the World Cup after Thierry Henry's handball. But William Gallas overall was a better centre-back and played for better teams at the time than Jamie Carragher would have. And when they're both at their peak, he ain't touching Gallas. He just isn't. Per Mertesacker won a World Cup with Germany. I know was pretty old when he came to the Premier League, very slow when he came to the Premier League, but overall his whole career way better than Jamie Carragher and has a lot more to show for it. Koscielny, yeah, just a brilliant player. Ben White, who I'm going for this year as well. I was really impressed with Ben White this season. Can play centre-back, right-back. And guys, at the same time, Jamie Carragher, throughout his whole career, was moved to right-back and left-back as well, like Ben White. Do you remember Jamie Carragher bombing up the wings, getting assists like Ben White does? Not a hope. Not a hope. So yeah, Ben White is better than Jamie Carragher, and even though he's young still, will go on to have a better career than Jamie Carragher. Okay, moving on to Chelsea players, and they had a shitload. John Terry, Carvalho, Gary Cahill, Marcel Desailly, Frank Leboeuf, David Luiz. Okay, will I explain David Luiz? I just think David Luiz won everything there is to win. I know he was a bit complacent, did some rash things at times. But do you think, as a Brazilian, do you think Jamie Carragher could go to Brazil and tear the Brazilian league up? I don't think so. David Luiz came foreign and did that. And multiple leagues. Did it with France, did it in France, with PSG, did it in Benfica, and did it with Chelsea on 2 occasions. And then won an FA Cup with Arsenal, got man of the match in the FA Cup final as well on top of it. Yeah, look, he wouldn't be my cup of tea, David Luiz. I wouldn't hang my hat on him. But he definitely made it into teams that Jamie Carragher would not have made it in. Thiago Silva, Branislav Ivanovic. Okay, so that's Chelsea. I'm definitely missing a few more Chelsea. Like, again, I did this in 20 minutes. I can feel that I'm missing a load more. But we'll move on to Man City now, who's at number 27, guys. This is going to be a quick podcast. Okay, so number 27, Vincent Kompany, Laporte, Akanji, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, Richard Dunn, John Stones are all the ones. Should I explain any of them there? Laporte starts for Spain. Kompany was unreal. Akanji is unbelievable. Richard Dunn was amazing. Maybe Nathan Ake, but no, I think he's absolutely unbelievable, to be honest with you. And he can go in left back as well, like a boss. Starts for Holland. Yeah, I think he's a sick player. Richard Dunn was outstanding as well. I don't think I'm offending anybody by saying Richard Dunn, to be honest. If you're not from Ireland, similar to John O'Shea vibes, Richard Dunn is kind of a saint here, and Jamie Carragher wouldn't touch Richard Dunn, in my opinion. John Stones has proven this year that he is better than Jamie Carragher. So we move on to some Spurs players. There's only 3. I had only 3 Spurs players. I don't think any more deserve to be in there. So I went for Ledley King, Jan Vertonghen, and Toby Alderweireld. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm just going to call him Toby. So Toby and Jan Vertonghen, didn't they both play for... I know Alderweireld played for Bayern Munich, played for Belgium while they were the number 1 team in the world with Vertonghen. They probably didn't do much, guys. Maybe that's debatable. Maybe some people can come on here and go, no, Jamie Carragher was better than these players. I don't think so. In the morning, if I wanted someone to start for me, I would be picking one of these boys anyway before Jamie Carragher. I don't think I have to explain Ledley King. I think Ledley King is... Those who witness Ledley King understand that he is probably in the top 10 best centre-backs of all time, and he never even trained. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so we'll move on to Liverpool. Again, there's actually not a lot of Liverpool fellas, in my opinion. I just said Virgil van Dijk, Kanate, and Matip. Oh yeah, and I said Sammy Hupia as well. I didn't say Honcho, I didn't say Daniel Agger, I didn't say Skrtel, I didn't say Lovren. Now Lovren and Carragher, there we go actually. Lovren and Carragher are the exact same. He's the Croatian Carragher. Mistakes, probably not physical enough, has a bit of pace but a bit rash. Yeah, they're very similar players, but I didn't pick any of them like Sacco or Lovren or anything like that, even though Lovren has probably accomplished more than Jamie Carragher, to be honest, internationally as well, definitely, but I didn't put him on my list. So we're moving into the last 10, guys. So this is all up for debate. I'll probably have to explain them all, okay? So number 41, I've gone for Naif Agard for West Ham. He's the centre-back that plays for West Ham currently. If you watch the World Cup for Morocco, I think he got on the Team of the Year for the World Cup. The man was unbelievable. And what I've seen with him with West Ham this year, he's a one-man show at centre-back. He's unbelievable. Again, very young. I believe it'll be a few years before everyone goes, oh yeah, he's way better than Jamie Carragher, but right now I take him. Even off the back of the World Cup performance, I would take him. We'll move on to number 42. I've gone for Gerard Piqué. Again, not great in the Premier League. He flopped at Manchester United, but overall 10 times better than Jamie Carragher. Played at Barcelona for years, won everything. Up next then is Vermaelen. Now, I didn't include him in my top 40 list. I've included him in my debatable 10. Vermaelen was a brilliant player for Arsenal when they didn't have a lot of steel. It was right after the Vieira, Gilberto Silva, all those fellas had left, and there was not a lot of steel in the midfield. They had Santi Cazorla, Nasri, Wilshere, Ramsey, good technical players, but not a lot of protection. And I really found that Vermaelen was a top-class player. He went to Barcelona after that, and injuries ruined his career. But like that, Jamie Carragher isn't getting a move to Barcelona in a month of Sundays, you know? Not a hope. Up next then, I've gone for Nicolas Otamendi. From what I've seen of Otamendi in the Premier League, not great. But what I see from him in an Argentinian jerseys every time a World Cup rolls around, the man is absolutely unreal. Puts in performances that I would not see Jamie Carragher put in. So Nicolas Otamendi got in my list. James Tarkowski. Now, he's an Everton player. He's a Burnley player. Nothing pretty. Gets the job done. If I wanted someone to man-mark my big centre forward in the morning, it would be him. I've gone to games. I remember a game, Aston Villa against Liverpool, and Benteke was marking Jamie Carragher, and it was a molesting, guys. It was one of the biggest molestings I've ever seen in my life. And I just know if Tarkowski had marked Benteke, that the score would have been a lot different. So I would just find more comfort in Tarkowski than Jamie Carragher. Up next then is Huth, who played for Chelsea, Leicester and Stoke City. An absolute stalwart, an unsung hero the year Leicester won the league. Wes Morgan gets a lot of the praise, but people don't realise how slow Wes Morgan was. Just at turning, speed-wise, like the amount of things Huth had to do for them to win the league was absolutely amazing. Did so at Chelsea as well. A great player, stalwart for Stoke City as well when they were in their prime. And I genuinely believe that season for Leicester City, he was far better than Jamie Carragher ever was. And also, Jamie Carragher does not get a move to Chelsea under the Abramovich era like Huth did as well. Up next, number 47, I've gone for Laurent Blanc, played for Man United when he was like 40, and he flopped very hard at United when he was 40, but before that he had played for Barcelona, Inter Milan, and won a World Cup with France. So come on now. Yeah, he did play in the Premier League. Technically he was terrible in the Premier League, but he was a better centre back than Jamie Carragher because of what he did before he came to the Premier League. Up next, I've gone for a bit of a cult hero, one of the streets will never forget. I've gone for Chris Samba. Put him centre forward or put him centre back, don't matter. This man's causing wreck. This man had to sleep. When he was a teenager, he was homeless. And he played for this team in France, a second division team in France, underage. And he used to sleep in the stadium. He used to say it to no one. After training, everyone would go home, but he'd go to sleep at the top of the stand. He'd shower in the stadium. The guy in the kitchen would give him food and breakfast every day. And he used to just sleep in the stands. And he made it all the way to the dents, baby. He made it all the way to the Premier League. Sam Allardyce absolutely loved him. Do I think Jamie Carragher could sleep in a stand and make it into the Premier League? I don't think I couldn't see it happening. I think he's actually from the Congo, moved to France when he was younger, and then slept in the stadium with France till they offered him a professional contract. And that's one of the best football stories you would ever hear about Chris Samba. Number 49, probably debatable, another Everton Man City player, Sylvain Distin. Most appearances in the Premier League by any centre-back, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but his longevity, I believe he has more than 600 games in the Premier League, and a stalwart, big presence, and did well everywhere he went as well. Didn't ever get a move to a top club, but like that, I reckon if Sylvain Distin had a Scouse accent and Jamie Carragher had a French accent, things would be a lot fucking different, I'll be honest with you. And last then, number 50 on my list, another Everton player, a Sheffield United player as well, Phil Jagielka. I always thought Phil Jagielka was a top player. I thought he should have got a move to a top 6 club, maybe Spurs, something like that. Scored a goal at the Cop End, an equaliser in the last minute at Anfield a couple of years ago in a 1-1 draw. Jamie Carragher ain't doing that. Played for England ahead of Carragher. Played for Sheffield United when they got promoted, when they came up the first time in the early noughties, and again last year when they come up last time. So Phil Jagielka, who only retired last year as well. Great player. So they're my 50, guys. Let me know if you disagree. I honestly think I didn't even think too much about it. Let me know if I've missed any as well. I've definitely missed people. I've went through it way too much. I didn't spend enough time going through it like I did with the Paul Scholes one. But I got to 50 and I was like, oh, I'm done. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of other players I could have mentioned and I didn't. So that's 50 players, centre backs, that are better than Jamie Carragher in the Premier League era. I don't want to hear no more about Jamie Carragher being absolutely unreal, the top 10 centre backs of all time. Shut the fuck. He couldn't get in his national team, mate. Do you know? And then he barely got into the Liverpool team. Do you know? Only that we signed the worst players of all time. He kept it going. I'm sure we tried to get rid of him on a few occasions, no doubt. Yeah, guys, thanks very much for listening to the podcast. Please like and subscribe. If you are in Care, County Tipperary, I'll be playing in Care, opening up for who was actually there? Tom the Bear O'Mahony and Jarlath Regan. You might know him. So I'll be there in Care this weekend doing some stand-up comedy. So come to it. If any of you Tip natives want to come see me do stand-up comedy this weekend, I will be in Tipperary. Until then, folks, thanks very much for listening. Peace and love, y'all. Peace and love.